Joseph rose quickly to the top, from the prison walls to Pharaoh's palace. His training for this important position involved him being a slave and then a prisoner. In each situation, he learned the importance of serving God and others. Whatever your situation is, no matter how undesirable, consider it a part of your training program for serving God. Joseph rose to the top. Joseph quickly rose to the top, from the prison walls to Pharaoh's palace. His training for this important position involved him being a slave, then a prisoner. In each situation, he learned the importance of serving God and others. Whatever your situation may be, no matter how undesirable, consider it a part of your training program for serving God. Welcome back to the program, everybody. I'm Reverend Said, and today we'll be reading Genesis chapter 41, verses 37 through 57, Joseph made ruler of Egypt. And if you ain't did it already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like, share, and comment on any video on this channel. All right, let's go ahead with our reading of Genesis chapter 41, verses 37 through 57. Joseph's suggestions were well received by Pharaoh and his officials. So Pharaoh asked his officials, "Can we find anyone else like this man, so obviously filled with the Spirit of God?" Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has revealed the meaning of my dreams to you, clearly no one else is intelligent or as wise as you are. You will be in charge of my court, and all of my people will take orders from you. Only I, sitting on this throne, will have a higher rank than yours." Pharaoh then said to Joseph, "I hereby put you in charge of the entire land of Egypt." Then Pharaoh removed his signet ring from his hand and placed it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in fine linen clothing and hung a gold chain around his neck. Then he had Joseph ride in the chariot reserved for his second in command. And whenever Joseph went, the command was shouted, "Kneel down." So Pharaoh put Joseph in charge of all Egypt. And Pharaoh said to him, "I am Pharaoh, but no one will lift a hand or foot in the entire land of Egypt without your approval." Then Pharaoh gave Joseph a new Egyptian name, Zaphenath-Paneah. He also gave him a wife whose name was Asenath. She was the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. So Joseph took charge of the entire land of Egypt. He was 30 years old when he began serving in the court of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And when Joseph left Pharaoh's presence, he inspected the entire land of Egypt. As predicted, for 7 years the land produced bumper crops. During those 7 years, Joseph gathered all the crops grown in Egypt and stored the grain from the surrounding fields in the city. He piled up huge amounts of grain, like the sand of the seashore. Finally, he stopped keeping records because there was too much to measure. During this time, before the first famine, 2 sons were born to Joseph and his wife, Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, the priest of On. Joseph named his older son Manasseh, for he said, "God has made me forget all my troubles and everyone in my father's family." Joseph named his second son Ephraim, for he said, "God has made me fruitful in this land of my grief." As the last 7 years of bumper crops throughout the land of Egypt came to an end, the 7 years of the famine began, just as Joseph had predicted. The famine also struck all the surrounding countries. But throughout Egypt, there was plenty of food. Eventually, however, the famine spread throughout the land of Egypt as well. And when the people cried out to Pharaoh for food, he told them, "Go to Joseph and do whatever he tells you." So with the severe famine everywhere, Joseph opened up the storehouses and distributed grain to the Egyptians. For the famine was severe throughout the land of Egypt, and people from all around came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was so severe throughout the world. Joseph was 30 years old when he became second in command in Egypt. At age 17, he had been sold into slavery by his brothers. He had spent 13 years as an Egyptian slave and prisoner. Alrighty, everybody, that's going to wrap up our reading for this morning. But please join me on the next episode where we'll be reading Genesis chapter 42, verses 1 through 38. Joseph's brothers goes to Egypt. It's been fun having y'all as always. Have a blessed rest of your morning.